Hello, everybody, and welcome to Voices of the Goddess podcast, where we empower, inspire, and uplift women to become the goddesses they were meant to be. I'm Julietta, the magical PT, and I help people by restoring balance to their body, mind, and spirit, because it all works together. You can't just fix one. And I was raised in the Midwest. And I was thinking the other day, something that I haven't shared with our audience yet is that I was actually married for 25 years. We talk all the time about Allison and her marriage. And I was married for 25 years and got divorced and starting this whole relationship thing over again. So that's been interesting in my life. And I'm also an artist and a jeweler. And here I am podcasting with Allison. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Mancini, and I live in South Florida along with Julietta, and originally from Michigan, but I have been down here for, it'll be 29 years this February, next month. Holy cow, it's been a long time. But yes, I have been married for 28 years. And now every time I think about that, you were married almost as long as I was. I mean, you must have gotten married when you were like 12. I'm not even sure.
I was 12. Child bride.
But yeah, I've been married for a long time, 28 years, been with my husband for over 30 years. And we have 2 adult children, 25-year-old son and a 22-year-old daughter. They are learning to adult and doing a pretty good job at it so far. So I am a holistic or functional nutritionist, and I am also human resources director for an amazing company. And my biggest passion is just, I am really driven that food really can be your medicine. If you eat, give your body the right fuel and the right food, your body will do amazing things for you. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm a little excited about our guest because she prepares my favorite thing. So
food.
Food. So let's talk about food for a minute, shall we?
Yeah, we were chit-chatting earlier, but something that I think is so important, and in our modern day, dieting mentality, a lot of times we have just a lot of negative thoughts and energy around food, and it's our food that nourishes us, and we need to come from a place of joy when we eat. And I've had these thoughts in the past where I generally eat a lot of healthy foods. I enjoy vegetables and fruit in my diet. And but there's one particular thing that I've tried to embrace so many times, and that is celery juice. And I'm very good at, if I need to take something for medicinal purposes, doesn't matter what it tastes like, I will get it down.
Yep.
But the celery juice, and I mean, I've done it for months and months and months, and every time I go to drink it, it's just like, I'm like, ugh. It's so unappealing for me. And I asked myself so many times, how can this do me any good when I can't find joy in consuming it? And so I finally released myself from celery juice. I've given myself permission to let it go. And I know so many people out there, like, it's so important for you, it's so good for you. That might be, but not everything is for everyone. So
sure.
To bring more joy in my eating, I have released celery juice.
Maybe you just need to find a green juice that has celery in it that you can tell. You know what I mean? Because like I do greens. I do a green,
Oh, my smoothie has all kinds of greens in
there
it.
You go. So you're
but I'm letting go of celery.
But I have to tell you, so it's interesting because, you and I were talking about this. So going through my whole process of, my background is I was actually really sick 14 years ago, and it was really food and lifestyle changes. It was food and lifestyle changes that got me back on the road to health and how I stay that way. And so my passion, I became a holistic nutritionist. Now I'm working on my functional nutrition certification. But it was interesting because part of going through the certification I'm working on right now, she was talking about how important it is what you just said, how we are with our food, how we look at it, and that we find joy in it. And then I know you've heard about this before, but there's this whole research done where they took bottles of water, and one bottle of water, they spoke really angrily and nasty to, and they were mean to this bottle of water. And somehow they use these probes or something, and they can read the energy in the bottle. And it was very negative, and I'd have to find the actual researched article. And then the other bottle of water, they spoke to you very lovingly and kind and blessed it and gave it, love and everything. And they read the energy of that bottle, and it was very positive and uplifting. And so one of the things that they talk about is how important it is when you sit down to eat, and I know our guests will appreciate this, is to first of all look at the beauty of your food in front of you, right? Because it is absolutely beautiful. Like I see when you do your Foodie Freaks, like the presentation is unbelievable, but you should really take that in, the beauty of it. And it actually triggers hormones in your brain that starts your digestive system. So it's important that you actually look at your food and really appreciate it. And then this whole thing of like Christianity and then blessing their food before they eat, there's really a point to that. It's not about it. It's about literally blessing your food so that it does the good things for your body that you need it to do. So it doesn't even have to come from a standpoint of Christianity, just a standpoint of like what I say to my food now is I look at it and I go, okay, you are awesome. You give me life. Please do all good things in my body when you go into my body. That's literally what I say before I eat all my food now. And I don't know if it's making a difference, but it sure doesn't hurt. So,
well, and also too that, I talked about, eating food that's healthy, but sometimes we just eat food for the pleasure of it. And
right.
We need to release the judgment when you decide to do that. So I'm not saying go out and eat McDonald's every day. Definitely don't do that.
Please don't.
But, that time when you want to sit and have ice cream, like don't judge yourself for having the ice cream. Don't judge the ice cream as being bad for you.
Yeah.
Just have joy in it and appreciate it. And then it won't do you harm if you approach it from that standpoint. So again, not something that you want to do every single day, but if it's going to bring joy to your life, enjoy it once in a while, and don't judge yourself for doing it. Don't put negative energy around it. Just enjoy it.
Yep.
Right?
All right. You ready to tell our audience our exciting new news?
Our exciting new news is we have sponsors this year. And our first sponsor is Graciela Valdez, photographer extraordinaire. And she is an award-winning, published, professionally certified portrait photographer specializing in boudoir and personal branding. She creates custom and concierge portrait experiences that are transformative and life-affirming. Whether an intimate portrait honoring your highest self or a professional engaging portrait for your business, Graciela makes pictures of who you are, not just what you look like. And as I always say, if you need a self-esteem boost, you need to go have your pictures done by Graciela. It is, for me personally, I've done both boudoir and personal branding, and both experiences were truly healing and empowering. And I can't say enough good things about this woman, besides the fact that she's so involved in our community. She's such an advocate for so many people. Love, love, love this woman. And so if you're looking for a photographer, choose Graciela.
All right. Well, shall we bring our guest on?
Let's bring our guest on.
Hello, Chef Josie. How are you? We are so happy to have you here today.
Good morning. Good morning, goddesses. How are you?
We are great. So we are excited to hear. Would you take a few minutes to introduce yourself to our audience? Tell everybody a bit about the amazing Chef Josie.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Chef Josie. So, very honored to be here, and thanks for the invitation, ladies. I'm a celebrity chef, as they like to call me from time to time. I spent 4 to 5 seasons on food television, predominantly BravoTV and and Food Network. But on Bravo TV, it was Top Chef. On Food Network, it was Cutthroat Kitchen. And we'll get to that at some point, I'm sure. After that, I've been an advocate for women, for children, ending hunger in the world, and opening the consciousness of our communities, and really helping us, get grounded in mindfulness and meditation. When I'm not doing that and being a transformative coach, you might see me at my restaurant, which I've owned for 6 years in Wilton Manors, called Bubbles and Pearls, a champagne and oyster celebration restaurant is what we like to coin ourselves as. When I'm not there, you might catch me on a dance floor, one or two of those too, as a DJ in my alter ego, Lady Snack Daddy, where I go back to my young days and just really celebrate the music that inspires us all. And when I'm not doing that, I dabble in politics because I am a former mayoral candidate of Wilton Manors. And there's just so many things that I enjoy doing, and there's never a reason not to do it for me. So I continue to throw my hat into the ring for many different interests. And I guess that's what you call a Renaissance woman. So that's me in a nutshell. I am a resident of Wilton Manors. I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, raised here in South Florida, lived in New York for a decade, lived on the West Coast in San Francisco for a few years, traveled the world. I'm not going to date myself right now, but I think you could probably just add it up, and you'll get close. But I've lived a full and fully expressed life, so I do my best to continue on that path and hopefully inspire a few people along the way to do the same.
I love it. And we talk about that all the time. Like, one of the things that I've had this conversation with my kids is that you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into this one little tiny area, right? Like, we can do so many things, and you should do the different things that you're passionate about. And they bring so much, it's just like you just said, they bring so much joy to your life. They fill all those needs that you have. I think that's so cool. And I just started following you on Instagram, Lady Snack Daddy. I love it. I love
it. My alter ego,
I will say Josie somewhat every time I see her, there's just joy exuding out of every pore of her being. So I see that you live your life from a space of joy, and you're a beautiful example for everyone out there.
Thanks.
All right. Let's dig into our questions. So we're going to start with our first question, and that is, we're kind of book nerds here. So what is one book you would wish that every goddess would read, and why?
Yeah, well, this book was introduced into my realm later in life. And so it's the one that sticks with me, and I think that everyone should read it. This past holiday, I went out and bought over 50 copies of it just to give out, because it is the book that I think everyone needs to read. Not just the goddesses, I think just everyone in general. But it's the Four Agreements. And, for those of you out there who are not familiar with it, is Don Miguel Ruiz. And, this book for me, it just took the complexity of life and simplified it. With 4 principles that all of us can just live by. And whenever we're wondering, are we living in alignment with our visions and our commitments, our goals? If we're ever questioning our purpose, if we're ever wondering how we can be the best versions of ourselves. These 4 principles, I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but it's just just one. I'm going to share one, it's just be impeccable with your word, right? And that is something, it's an invitation to everyone to be so mindful of what the words we're choosing in every moment, the words that come out of our mouths, and being so connected to that, right? Because there's so many times that I feel that, and you see it on television all the time, right? It's just like people talking to talk, right? Just filling the space with, I don't know, noise, really, because that's what happens when you talk to talk. It's just words become noise. And when you're impeccable with your word, it's like every word has an intention behind it and a purpose. And so I just love that book, and I think it supports so many people. I mean, I think I'm just going to go crazy here and tell you all of them, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to ruin it. I'm not going to ruin it.
So I had never read the book until a year ago. It came up in our first few podcasts, and I was like, I have to read this book. Everyone keeps talking about this. I'd never heard of it. I read it, and I was like, holy cow! Like, I gave it to my children. I'm like, you have to read this. And I now, every day I journal, and part of my journaling is writing what I'm grateful for and accomplishments. And then I have certain things that I guess you'll call them affirmations, but things that I want to be mindful of every single day. And I write the 4 agreements every day in my journal. I will be impeccable with my speech. I will not take things personally. I do not make assumptions, and I always do my best. Like, they're every day. And I really, as I'm writing them, I'm like, okay, gotta do this today. And it's an incredible book, and it's such a short book.
It's it's one sit down, right? It's not too complicated. Like I said, it simplifies the complexity of life in 4 little principles.
It's a great book.
Absolutely. Yes, it was one of our, we have a book club, so we do 1 book a month in our Circle of Goddesses, and that was definitely one of our books. And it's so one of those books that you just need to go back and review, remind yourself, because it's simple, but it's easy to forget. And it was funny that you brought up the, be impeccable with your word. As soon as you started talking about it, that's one that I'm working on. And it's a challenge, especially as we age. We've developed, our way of speaking and just the stuff that comes out of our mouth. And I'm really trying to be present to overuse of the word like.
Yeah.
And some days it's so easy. I catch myself, and other days it's falling out of my mouth. And I'm like, that's not being intentional with my speech when I'm just letting this stuff fall out. And it's not just things, correcting things in that way, but also being mindful of everything you say, and does it have purpose, and does it serve, or is it just filling space? So
that's a hard word not to say all the time too. Like, right? Like,
I just said it. No idea.
I know it's ingrained in our speech. It's like how we just talk casually with each other, right?
But it's mostly a space filler. We use so many space.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to question 2, because I have a feeling with Chef Josie we could talk a lot. So we're gonna go. Listen, Juliana and I could talk all day, and I have a feeling you would jump right in with us. So, okay, let's go to question 2, and that is, what is your top self-care practice, and how does it support you? Because you have a lot going on.
Okay, so this is, I have to share this, and we touched on it, before the show, but my self-care I think it's been for the last 3 years, is napping, guys, is napping. Okay. I have no shame in my game when it comes to turning off my ringer, turning off the phone, and setting an alarm, giving myself 30 minutes. That's it. That's all I need. 30 minutes. I'll find a quiet space. Either it's on the couch. Usually it's on the couch, because that's where I don't get too comfortable on the couch, right? And I'll do a 30-minute nap on the couch, and that's what I need. It's if I don't have a nap, I'm cranky. Who am I kidding? I'm like a little kid. I'm cranky. And by 10 o'clock in the evening, and my restaurant is still open until, 11 on some days, but by 10 o'clock, I am just tuckered out. And so being able to move in the different worlds that I play in, I have to have the energy, this sustainable energy, right? And sometimes also the day is just so hectic, right? That my mind just needs to just quiet itself. And it's not enough to have, to do a 10-minute meditation or take a moment of silence or go sit by the beach or any of that stuff. Sometimes that's just too much to do. I just go to sleep. I literally just turn it off. And the way that that has served me is, I mean, number one, I think that it's just helping me manage any kind of stress or anxiety in a day when the day seems or becomes overwhelming, because life's, and that's what happens. And the day starts to present its challenges, and you think you put in your little calendar in your scheduler. You think have all these things, everything is, scheduled, and no, but it's not like that. Life throws these little curveballs, and then next thing you know, your schedule is off, and you're trying to figure out, how am I going to juggle it? How am I going to get it done? Right? And before I go into a complete total meltdown mode or breakdown, right? I just, you know what? Maybe I need a nap, and that's what I do. I just turn it off, and then it gives me 30 minutes. Sometimes it's 45, never more than an hour. But it's just enough time for me to just quiet my mind, let my body stand still, and just bring myself back to ground level,
It,
and
it's
that's what works for me.
It's so funny to hear you say that, because speaking of when we were talking before we went live, and Julietta was saying how as a kid she was not a napper. And I have two kids. One of my kids was a huge napper and the other one wasn't. But as you were saying that, Chef Josie, I thought about when my kids would have a major meltdown, right? I would look at them and go, you need a nap. Like, you need to go take a minute, right? And my mom, as I was growing up, she would always do those cat naps, similar to what you were just saying, where it's just 30 minutes on the couch, just enough to regroup. And I always thought to myself, what on earth is that even doing for her? It's 30 minutes. Like, if I'm going to take a nap, I want like 2 hours, right? Now, this is as a teenager. And now as an adult, if I'm having a day like you just described, where it's just, we all have those days where you just feel like you just can't catch up and there's so much on your plate. And I have to just go take a moment to myself, and I'll do exactly what you just said. I'll go on the couch. I'll set my timer for 30 minutes. Sometimes I fall asleep. Sometimes I'm kind of just dozing, but it's so refreshing and just helps me to recenter, like you said, and reground myself and come back to it. I don't do it every day, but I do definitely take up that practice.
I feel like I want to start telling adults when they're like not in their best space,
go take a nap.
Yeah,
so true.
Exactly. Yeah,
I worked at a school with kids, and I had first and second graders, and I can remember the teachers and I would look at each other and go, oh, they need a nap. Like, they just need to go lay down and take a nap.
Now I'm feeling like I failed kindergarten because I never learned how to nap. Oh my. Okay, we can talk about napping all day, but we got more questions to get through here.
Yeah.
So our third question, Josie, is, when you're having one of those days where it's difficult to show up, and I think we know the answer to this, what tool do you pull out of your back pocket to make it happen?
Yeah, well, so now that's my secret weapon. That's now not so secret. Okay, now everyone knows that I'm napping in the middle of the day, But if I can't nap, right? There's this little practice that I do, If you ever notice that when you tilt your head back and you look up into the sky, how everything that you were thinking about kind of just disappears. The the tension behind it, whatever, it dissipates, right? And it's pretty magical to just take a look into the sky. I'm not thinking about anyone in the sky. I'm just simply looking into the heavens, and maybe in that moment, what it's doing is it's reminding me how small I am, right? In the grand scheme of all the things that are not necessarily moving at the pace I need them to move or working out the way they need to work out, right? Is that I just look up to the sky and I take some deep breaths. It opens up some air channels there, a little extra, channel, a tunnel for more oxygen to enter into my body. But it's really just, I think, remembering that I'm this small piece in this grand universe, right? And then that makes whatever I'm concerned about or worried about even smaller than that, right? So it basically makes that non-existent, and it just allows me to take a nice deep breath and see the wonders and the miracle that is the creation of this universe that we're living in.
I love that. That's, I think about, we were up at the cabin and, looking at the night sky up there, and, because there's much less civilization around, the stars are just so much brighter in the sky. And, hearing you talk about it, it's like, yeah, we were looking at the sky, that just felt so good in the moment. That is a great tool to use to just, center yourself, and everything that's all the craziness that's going on, it doesn't matter. It's nothing compared to the entire universe. Great. I'm going to use that, Josie. Thank you.
It works during the day, the evening,
Yeah,
like all day long, all day.
Absolutely. Love that.
Yeah.
All right. And our final question, Josie, is what life experience has most formed who you are today?
I think I'm writing a book about that one, but when I was younger, and I'll say this, people don't maybe, okay, let's reverse here. I used to think it was my television experience, right? I thought that was what really helped form me as a human being. But I really remember my early years as a young teenager, and my parents getting divorced, and the the separation and the disconnect, and the what in that moment was chaotic, right? And then going from that into my young adult, I mean, I went from that into young adult. It felt like I missed an entire pocket of time, right? And then next thing you know, I was a young adult living in New York City, trying to figure out life. Those years were the most impressionable years, right? And it helped me understand something, because when I thought that there was no one, right, there were so many people around me, other adults. This is when I learned about chosen family, this is when I learned about, be community, right? And that saying that it takes a village, right? It takes a village. It took a village, to help me become who I am today. And I can't say that I stay in touch with every single person who's ever like impressed upon me some wisdom or some lesson or something to help me move into this now, what is my life today. But I never forget these people along the way, and I'm so grateful. I was watching something about it, and this all leads up to this story, but about how there was a man who was out in the middle of the ocean, and he was like stranded in the middle of the ocean, and he was praying to God, right? That save me, save me, save me. And a boat came by, and the boat came by and said, "Hey man, can we help you out?" Right? And the guy said, "No, no, no. God's gonna save me. And then he stayed out there in the ocean, and then the second big ship came by and said, "Hey, let me throw you a line." "No, no, 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 because God's gonna save me." Well, eventually he said no to that too, and then he dies, right? And he ends up in the pearly gates of heaven, and he goes, "God, why didn't you save me?" He goes, "Dummy, I sent you 2 boats. And that reminds me of these people. I didn't even, I wouldn't have known that then, but now looking back, I see that, wow, I had so many ships come to my savior, or to my support and to my assistance, and there were just so many lifelines through my life. So um, I think that it's just that those young years when I needed a friend, when I needed support, when I needed community, when I needed um, adults in my life who could, who saw something maybe in me that I didn't see in myself. Those were the most transformative years for me, impressionable years for me, and definitely have left a lasting impression on me. And I hope that I'm continuing and carrying that torch and understand my responsibility in this world, to do the same for someone who maybe needs a lifeline, who needs a helping hand, who needs to just know that they matter in the world, right? And that they're seen and they're heard, and that their life has purpose. So
So true. And I think a lot of times we are that person for someone without even knowing that we are.
you're
So,
right. Yeah.
yeah, that's beautiful.
That was incredible, because I have definitely had those people in my life that they were my ships, and had they not been there, I would have probably ended up in front of the pearly gates and God going, "I sent you all these people," right? Like, yeah, no, I think that is such a beautiful analogy, and I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I told you guys, we could do this all day.
I know.
Really, I have lots of stories. I mean, hopefully this year I'll get around to writing that book I keep saying I'm gonna do, but I think I gotta fit it in, around
Take
my
a
neck.
nap and then get up and get it.
30 minutes, just 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes a day, Chef Josie. Work on your book. You'll get it done.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
30 minutes a day.
Yeah,
I think I can carve that out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Josie, our final question is, if there's one thing that you want our audience members to remember from our time together this morning, what would that be?
I say to the viewers, the listeners today, take this away. Get connected to every single word that comes out of your mouth. Start getting connected to the intention behind what it is you're saying. Talk, don't just talk to talk. Speak to be heard. Have something to say, or just don't say it at all. Keep it in with yourself. Allow yourself to be in the silence of life, so you can be present to the wonder of life. We get distracted with the words. We get distracted with what we think we need to say, to do, to fill the space. But man, there's so much beauty in the silence of it all. I hope that the listeners, the viewers can take that away, and don't stop being curious, because there's just so much. There's so much. Life is for living. It's not for just kind of holding back and waiting for life to happen. Life is for living. It's not waiting. Life is not for waiting. It's for living. So live your life, live it fully expressed. And if you need some help, I'm sure any of the ladies on the screen right now can help with that.
That's awesome.
Love that.
And here I just thought you were a chef. I had no idea. An incredible one at that.
That's my side gig.
Yeah, Allison. Right? I was just going to say.
Awesome. Well, Chef Josie, thank you so much for being with us this morning. It has been such a pleasure having you on the show. And thank you to all our listeners for listening in. If you enjoyed what you heard today, check out the show notes, how to get in touch with Josie or either of us. All that information is in the show notes. And also a special thank you to our sponsor, Graciela Valdez. And everyone, I want to wish you a magical day.
All right. Beautiful.
Bye, Chef Josie.
Thank you guys so much.